going to paint a watercolor. So first let me show you what we need. We need, of course, some watercolor paper, and the thicker the paper the better. You want to use a nice thick quality, and I usually use 250 grams per square meter or 300 grams per square meter, and this is a nice size. The brands I'm using is either Hanemühle or Fabriano paper or Canson, that's C-A-N-S-O-N. But for this demonstration, or I haven't painted for a while now, was too preoccupied with crochet. Let's use paper from Wang, and it's unfortunately a bit too thin, but let's see how it goes. And I know that some people use a wooden board and they fix their paper, their sheet of paper, with some masking tape, but I prefer the blocks of paper which are already come glued. This one is glued on this side and on the other side, so it stops, it prevents the paper from doing these wobbly bits if it's fixed. And once it's dry, you can cut it off. You just slice in between this sheet and the next with a knife on both sides, and then you have your paper. So we're going to use this one. What you're also going to need is a bowl with cold water. I usually put in quite a lot of water here. And then you need your watercolors. And all my watercolors are from Schminke, which is a German brand. And it's they come in these little paint squares, and once you've used up one, you can replace it by this is metal, and you can fix it in between so they don't wobble around and aren't loose. And I use this for mixing the colors, this as well, and it's actually quite useful. Sometimes I pre-mix in here so that I have quite a quantity already before I start painting. Then I don't have to mix, and each time you mix a new one, your color is a little bit different. Not that it matters too much with watercolor because it's floating anyway if you use a wet into wet technique, but that's what I like to do, so I don't have to go back into mixing the color I need. And I have this one here, and these are my favorite colors. Going to use this, doesn't need so much space. And here I also have another one, but I think that's actually empty. And apart from your colors, you also want to use some kitchen towel, just ordinary kitchen towel, because you're working with water, and if you use too much water, then you want to be able to lift off the water from your paper. And also I need one for resting my brushes on, which I don't use. I only use one brush at a time, obviously. So that comes to the next item you need, and these are brushes. And I would recommend getting good brushes, and you don't have to start off with like 10 brushes or so, but 2 brushes are quite enough. You need a thicker one like this size. This is a size 12 from Da Vinci, and this is a synthetic brush, but real hair, like animal hair, is also very good. but I'm using a synthetic one today. And then I have a smaller one, and that's also Da Vinci in size 4, also synthetic, and I've used it quite a lot, so it came loose, but I fixed it here with a bit of tape. So these are my preferred brushes. I only need 2 for today. And of course you can use other brushes as well. There are these brushes, they're flat, but this is quite a small canvas, quite a small paper. And then you can use old toothbrushes when you put some color on it, and then you spray with use your thumb and spray over it if you want. And then you can also use a palette knife or any other knife, and you can scratch over the paper once the color is almost dry and you want a bit of white, want to see a bit of white, then you can scratch carefully off. And if you scratch, you're going to damage the paper, so you can't if you repaint these areas, then they're going to be darker because the water gets into the paper and also the particles, the color particles. So scratching the paper, if you start with watercolors, I would not recommend scratching the paper. Basically, with watercolor, you work from light to dark, which means everything which you want to be white, you have to leave white. You are not going to paint over it. Okay, so you first start, you can do a sketch, a light sketch, and once it's completely dry, with a pencil, don't push too much on the paper, but you can make a light sketch with pencil, and then you have some lines for orientation. Yeah, but as I said, only use the rubber, the eraser, once it's dry. Also, don't damage the paper before you paint on it, and don't touch it when if your fingers are, if you use the hand lotion or something and it's greasy, don't touch the paper, because the fat and the grease in the lotion would repel the water, and then you can't cover these areas. You will always see where your fingerprints on it. So this is something I've made before. Let's take this off. So now we have here our white paper, and this is for my brushes. Keep your water and your colors quite close together, because otherwise you have to dip in the water, and then you move over your painting, and then if a drop falls, then you drop onto your paper. It's not such a good idea. So if I want to start, I can first think about what I want to paint. And today I want to paint a landscape, like a beach with a horizon. And if you paint a landscape, then you have to think about where you want to place your horizon. If you would put it plain in the middle, then this painting would be very boring indeed. So you have to think, it's better to have a 1 to 2/3 relation. You either put your horizon 1/3, like 1, 2, divide your design, your color, your paper in your mind only into 3 pieces. So you either want to place your horizon down here, or maybe down there if you want to paint big sky. But I want to prefer, I think I would put it like here, and I want to have the sea here, the beach, maybe some boulders, and there is going to be the coast line on the top. I could start with just some plain water, so I have a wet paper to paint on. But then everything all the colors which I would put in there, it floats, the color particles would float in the water, and they wouldn't stay just on the top, but they would float down here and they would spread. So if I want to keep something white, I don't make it wet. That's all. So if I want to have a horizon line here, I would make this, everything up here I would make wet. And then I would start painting. And if you want to have a nice gradient, then you can tilt your paper. If you tilt it like this, then all the color particles would float to the bottom, and then this here would be darker than the top. And if you want to have the top darker, then you would tilt it the other way. Maybe not like this, but just a little bit, and then you can see it floating. And if it's too much moving to the top, then you just tilt it back. And don't make it too wet, just wet enough so that the color particles can float. For this one, I will just make it easy. I'm just going to use some masking tape. You see, I can put it right here, and I place my line. Here. And I don't want to glue it too much on the paper, because I still want to be able to remove it later. So I'm just brushing over it gently. I make sure that the water can't go underneath and pool there. I don't want that. So this would be my sea later. Let's just put it here. Yeah, I think that would do well. All right, so, and I'm not going to place the line here because I want to break this harsh line up. This is going to, there's going to be the coast, and it will extend on the horizon down here in a small one. But first of all, I always paint the sky. So let's dip our brush into the water. And also a note about caring for your brushes. Don't leave them in there like this for any long time, because they you want to keep a nice tip. And if you leave it in the water and it touches the bottom of the bowl, then you will ruin the brush. So I don't want to be too realistic with my painting. I'm just going to put some water on it like this. I don't know if you can see the water, but you will be able to see it once I start painting on it. So I'm putting the water on it, and now let's go into the blue. All right, and I already have here a bit of a muddy black, greenish blue. I quite like that. That's moody. I add some water, and of course this water will get dirty, but I can exchange it after a while. So here I have some, let's add a bit more water. You can also use a pipette. All right, so here we go. And let's just see, where do I want to add something? I think we start here. Just some, this is a cloud at the moment. Let's just see how that works. There you go. And now I'm going to go straight into the color. I'm going to add some drama. All right, so there you can see the color particles are moving into the wet area there as well. You can see it happening. So I'm going to move it, tilt it downwards, that it goes into the other direction again. Can you, oh, I'm holding it out of the picture. So there you go. I don't like this happening, so I'm going to correct it a little with my brush. All right, I want to have a nice horizontal line. Now, something else you can do is adding some, hold your finger like this, and then you drop some water into the wet areas. That gets a nice effect. You can actually also use alcohol, like turpentine, or I have a window cleaner here, which is based on alcohol. Yeah, you see? That's happening when you add some alcohol in it. There. That's quite interesting. But clouds are never round, so let's tilt it a little bit. And I'm going, oh, this is not good, I don't like that. Let's just move it to one side. That's all right. Now, something else which you can use is salt. And you can take a big grain salt, but I'm just going to use some normal kitchen salt. But let's just take off a little bit of the water, of the excess water. And for this, I'm going to fold my kitchen towel and I'm going to hold it here, and then I tilt it so that the color moves into the kitchen towel. All right, there you go. Now, some salt. I'm going to put it first into the palm of my hand so that I can control the grains. You don't need much salt, just a few grains of salt. So there we have some salt. I'm going to use a pinch of salt and just put it there. All right. So maybe that's going to be some rain, or I don't know. I don't like this one and I don't like this one. That's where we put the alcohol. I think that's too round. So I'm going to add some water there. And this is going to be where the sky is breaking through, I think. So let's just take the clean part of our kitchen towel and let's carefully lift off some of the water. Yeah, maybe that's the moon or something like that. All right, now this paper has actually little dots on it. It's perforated, so you would see this on here. Maybe it's a better idea to take a clean brush and to just lift off the color, which is too much. All right, like this. Let's make the horizon not too dark. All right. I'm going to add some more water here because it's supposed to look like a cloud. All right. And you can either wait for a couple of hours or you use your hair dryer. And I'm going to just let it sink in for a while, and then to finish it off I'm going to use a hair dryer. But I have to take a break here now. Now I'm going to, what am I going to do next? I think we're going to make the beach here. So this is, I'm not going to work over these areas because I would get a harsh line like this if I would let it get in here. So maybe this one here wasn't even necessary. But let's just keep it on there. Maybe a very light blue, or no, let's just work with one color and we can see the effects better. So now I'm going to add the beach, and I'm going to have puddles in here which we're going to see later. So let's just mark This is going to be a puddle, like there. And we're going to have another smaller puddle here and there. I think that's good. And now before this dries, let's wet the paper. All right, so I'm going to use more water. I'm going to wet all the area around it. See, I can soften this line up a bit by brushing over it softly with some water, and then that the paint will bleed into the wet area. Now this is going to be darker. I keep it tilted to the right because this is where I want the blue to go. So now what I'm going to do is to add more salt. In this area here, to add some interest. Maybe we're going to try a toothbrush. So I'm going to make my toothbrush wet. Which color do we use? Could use the blue, but that would, maybe I just take some of this off here. It's quite a nice color with a bit of yellow. Let's splurt that on here. Going to add some of the blue. That's not too bad. Bit of action here. Now we have to have more patience and let this dry as well. Okay, so here I am again. I just I just dried the rest of it, and I carefully brushed off the salt. I hope you can see the effects. Here in the dark you can see it better, but I actually quite like this area here. You can see it? All right. So now I'm going to carefully take off the masking tape. Take my smaller brush because I want to add the coastline on the top. And I think I need a bit more of a, I need a different blue. This is too gray, too indigo. I need a nice friendly blue. So let's just add some lines here. So this is very distant, and that's why it will be very much smaller. Just here, going to add a line, and then later we're going to add like a hill in the front. Now with that same color, I'm going to add the shadow of the rock, which will be here, and I'm going to add a shadow and the shape of the rock on top. All right, this is going to be our rock. Something like this. And don't worry, this is quite unshapely at the moment, but we're going to have it better later. Yeah, so we're going to use this one. Let's just brush over this here. Boop, 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 boop. That's good. Let it dry, let it dry. And don't paint the sky. So let's take out the little brush again, and we are going to add another smaller line here, because these hills are further away, and the ones we're going to see here are closer. So there. That's good. Yeah. Sometimes you can also use the back of your brush to draw a line, but this one is actually not very pointy. It works better if it's a pointy brush. We're only going to paint the top half darker, because this is the boulder and the lighter stuff at below, that's actually the shadow. Can you see that? So I want to keep this. I like it that way. Yeah, so what next? You can see the line from the back here. So I have to make it a bit darker. I like the rocks, and I think we could add a bit more definition to the waves. But that would mean either to make the sea darker or the beach darker, and I quite like the texture on the beach. Maybe here. You can easily damage your paper, your painting like this. Let's just first dry everything else, all right? And then we see what we want to add next. All right, friends, I'm back. And whilst I was using my hairdryer on our painting, I thought this just needs a lot more bam, lot more color. I think I want turquoise in here, and if I feel very bold, I'm going to add orange. Maybe, not sure yet. So we're just going to use the big brush, or maybe even an even bigger brush. Just want a lot. What size is this? This is 16. This is 12. All right, let's go with a really big brush. And if we're going to go wrong, then you're never going to see it. Or I'm going to show you how I fail. And we're going to use some fresh water, because yes, and a bit of this yellow. Is this turquoise? This is more like green. We need more blue. The problem is that I almost ran out of. Oh, it's a nice color. So let's put this here. There. And some water to soften the edge. That's nice. That's very nice. I'm going to add some of that down here, and some water to soften it. Pure orange. This orange? Now this can go really wrong. does it mix? All right. And here, some more. What do I actually want to... Then a very thin line of orange down here. Maybe. Not too sure, not too sure. Maybe. I don't know. Do I like it? I don't know. It's bleeding. It's bleeding. To the rescue. Oh no, it's bleeding down there now. Let's shift the colors a little. Oh, that's actually interesting. Let's stop this here from happening. Yeah. Alright, I took almost everything off again. It's just a little shimmer of it, and this I actually like. Maybe I want to have some of this here, so I'm going to drag it over like this with the back of my brush. That's nice. Let's do this down here as well. Yep, that's nice. Yeah, I think we've done something here. I had an idea. I'm going to add here the C, and then we're going to put some alcohol on it, like we did before, and then we can see what happens, right? All right. This is lilac. Some more. I think I want a coastline to be roughly here. Yeah, that's better. And let's add here some more orange as well. Like a very intense evening cloud. It's rather nice. All right, guys, this is for wet painting. I'm going to sign it down here later, and I'm going to show it to you once it's completely dry. I hope you enjoyed this abstract watercolor painting time with me, and I'd love to see your works of art. Okay guys, here's our painting. It's dry now, and I just wanted to show you how much a passepartout, how much a difference it makes. A light gray. Then we have like a brownish frame passepartout. Burgundy one, which I think works quite nicely. It's my personal favorite, but you tell me what you like best. Here's a close-up again, boulders, skyline. Please also bear in mind that if you don't like one part of your painting, you can still take only part of it. And you can check this out by taking a smaller passepartout, and then you can see if you maybe like this better. And you can move it around and you can see, okay, I like this, but I could also like that, or I could like this quite a lot. So you just decide what you want.